What? Oh,
No, you are. You told me to put music on, and then you
I didn't
started
say
going
don't.
into a satsang. No, you are.
Didn't say don't
Ah,
record. I thought we were recording.
ah. I'm sick of you.
I
Sick
don't
of you.
know.
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know. Just gonna stay there. I don't know. Hey, Anna. Anna not in her car, but April who is in her car.
Yeah.
So everything's about your yes. You're saying yes to God. Right? So Jesus says, give up the world and follow me. Your only answer is yes, Lord. Right? Without any concern how that ought to look. Right? Because you find yourself in the falsity of your own experience of self, you find yourself in this idea of I'm a body in a world with other bodies, which is the false self. You're always circumscribed by that falsity. So you're saying yes amidst the entire possibility and potential of what that falsity could look like. And your mind is always, because you don't have a true reference, you don't have a Christ reference yet, or if you do and you're not using it, maybe, but because fundamentally you don't know, which is Christopher Walken, I don't know. Where's Tina gone? That was our thing. She's going to try and find it now. Um, you're saying yes from that false place. Does that make sense, Colin? Colin, does that make sense to you?
No.
All right. So let's say it's Alice in Wonderland and you're down the rabbit hole and everybody who's up on top side on the rabbit hole, they're calling out, Colin, where are you? Colin, where are you? And you're saying, I'm here, I'm here. And they're saying, well, no, you're not. We can't see you. Where are you? And you're down the rabbit hole. But you're convinced that you're there. Is that a good analogy? No, that's probably not a good analogy, but no, that's a terrible one. Everyone's shaking their head. Oh, man. It's not a day for analogies. Boo. All right, let me do it this way. The world is a dream, right? The world is an illusion. It's false. It's the Maya. Reality is eternal. So when Jesus calls into your dream and goes, Colin, follow me, and you go, yes, Lord, you're saying yes from within the framework of the falsity, within the framework of the illusion, right? You have to also include yourself into that illusion, right? Because the Colin in the dream is illusory. There can't possibly be a real Colin in a dream. So the Colin that Jesus is calling is actually Christ Colin. Colin in the dream hears that and goes, here I am, Lord, with no seeming effect. Right? Because like God knows not of the dream. God knows not of a world separate from itself. It's like, how could it if God is everything? Right? But in my mind, it's like I'm here and I'm going, yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, Lord, whilst I'm still circumscribed by all of the particulars of my false association, of my false dream, which is why I have to heal my mind of its falsity before I can actually truly say, give my true yes. So all my yes up until my true yes is just practice in a certain sense, right? It's helpful, but it's kind of practice. I'm learning to say yes unconditionally. I'm learning to say yes without question, without questioning it, without asking any kind of why, what, right? It's a blind faith yes. You're not saying yes to, hey, what's happening, Pixel 8? You're not saying yes. You're not saying yes to eating meat or not eating meat. You're not saying yes to any other kind of thing. You're saying yes to love, yes to the universe, because that's all there ever is. How that shows up in the world doesn't really matter, but it's always going to show up as something you can recognize because it wouldn't be helpful if you didn't understand what the hell was going on to you. You'd end up in the nut house, right? So you say, oh, well, Dave said to me, just eat meat for a month. And you'd be like, cool, I can do that. Yep. And you just say yes. You don't know why you're saying yes to anything other than the fact that you're associating that with some sort of spiritual process, right? But automatically, because the ego doesn't really know anything, it looks for something to try and categorize it into so that it can manage it and make it real to itself and take control of it, right? Whatever you give control of to your ego, it's going to corrupt and you're not going to get the benefit of it. Okay? Which is why this is a course in miracles. You can't define what a miracle is. If you knew what a miracle is, you'd get involved. You'd corrupt it. You'd put your pointy little fingers in and your pointy little brain and you'd bloody manipulate it. Oh, I see how the miracle works. I can have a miracle so I can buy a better car. Woo! I can manifest some shit with my miracle mind. It's like, well, you've been manifesting shit all along. How's that helped the world? Right? And there's a whole plethora of people out there writing books about manifesting. The seven keys, that was the one I read like years ago, the seven keys to spiritual health, wealth, and happiness, where you take a perfectly reasonable spiritual premise, which is designed for the healing of your mind so you can enter into a holistic relationship or an altruistic relationship with the universe, God, whatever, and you corrupt it to the point where all that happens is you end up getting yourself more money and a bigger house, and you still die at the end of it, right? That's not salvation. Jesus is offering salvation. Don't worry about manifesting. Everything on your journey that you need for the fulfillment of your journey will be provided for you. Everything you don't need won't be provided for you. All right? You're learning to get your ass out of the way. I'm going to just stop interfering and let God provide for me exactly what I need, no more and no less. And I'm going to be grateful for that. I'm going to be grateful to have that and to have that relationship that is my supply. God is your supply. Whatever you think God is, I don't care. You could think God's a little green man that lives under a bridge, or you could think God's somebody that sits on a throne up in the sky, or you can think God is like the Force in Star Wars, which is more like what I think it is, right? Having experienced it. But if you think of God as the all and you as the separated part coming back to that memory of the all, that's more honest, right? Otherwise, you're going to sit in some kind of sort of transcendental posture. Oh, no, I'm one with all things. And it's like still be circumscribed by the need to manifest shit, right? I read a beautiful piece by Osho the other day. I don't read a lot of Osho anymore, but it just popped up in my feed. And he was saying how happy he was because he doesn't organize anything for himself. He doesn't do anything. He just allows the universe to push him and move him around and put him where he needs to be and whatever. And he just says yes to everything, and that's a true thing. It's like the spirit is like the wind. You don't know where it comes from or where it goes. But as soon as you stop to say, oh, I think it came from over there and it's headed that way, you're missing the whole point. You're trying to attribute something that's completely miraculous into a framework that, you're trying to composite into a framework that you can understand. And the only reason that you would do that is to build a better defense, because the nature of time space is what defense against God is. If you're operating from within it, you're operating from a defensive place. It's like, oh shit, I'm fully defended. I'm defended against God. In the moment you're not defended against God, not defended against the universe, you'll experience yourself one with the universe. But that takes some mind training to stop you from interfering. The universe is calling you all the time. Like God's call to you to awaken is happening all the time. And you know what happens? I examine it. What does that mean? What is awakening? What do I do with that? What's this book about? What? Why? Instead of just saying yes, yes, whatever's presented, yes, unequivocally, yes. Yes is literally the answer. I think that was a Beatles song. Yes is the answer. Was that John Lennon, Paul McCartney, or something? One of those guys. So, but, Who's the guy? Who's the other Beatle? Not John, not the drummer. Oh my God,
George
George
Harrison.
Harrison.
Ooh,
George Harrison. Whoop whoop. Like
life.
all that time they spent with the Maharishi,
Woo.
right? It's like George got it the most. You always think John Lennon got it, right? Because John was the more
No.
popular and had the more catchy tunes and the more sort of song. But George has this sort of like subtle undercurrent where he's just like, I get it. And he saw the whole thing panned out. And from that moment on, bam, his life had a full
Woo.
direction. And, like it was totally miraculous and
Oh
beautiful.
man. Mm.
But I mean, I like John Lennon too. Some of his stuff's kind of cool. But that's where it's at in your own mind. You're always looking for this thing. It's like, Tina, when I said to you, like wanting it or not wanting it is the same thing. It's like you get to a point, hey, John Olson, what's going on? One word name. I like everybody's avatar names for their avatars. It's like mine's just my name, but it's kind of cool. But you get to that point where the penny drops, right? And the light bulb goes on with any one of those principles, with any one of those um, indisputable kind of like singular principles, like it's what do you call it? It's an absolute. As soon as you grasp one absolute, you get all of it, right? From that point on, you can see what you're doing in relationship to it, no matter where you go, what's presented, how tricky it seems to be, not seems to be, whether you like it, don't like it. It's like you have this place that you can pivot around in your consciousness where it's always the same, right? It's a singular pivot point where you're examining everything from the premise. And it's like, I really like this simple one. It's like Jesus says in the Course, how do you tell what's real from what's not real? And it's like, well, if it's not eternal, it's not real. Now, look at everything based on that, right? It doesn't matter where you go, what you do, who says anything, or whatever goes on. It's like the matrix is the matrix, right? Even me sitting here now telling you that the matrix is the matrix. But I'm kind of like Neo, or what's the other guy, the Morpheus, or the whatever, or the Oracle, or one of those guys that's already been outside and then comes back in for the greater good kind of thing. It's like it's hard to sort of talk about, but it's like if it is or it isn't, then it's either eternal or it's not eternal, right? And that's how you find your way out of any particular situation. It's like, why would you react at all to figures in a dream if you truly knew you were dreaming, right? Hear that. Why would you react at all to figures in a dream if you truly knew you were dreaming? Now, the fact is, you don't truly know you're dreaming. You like to believe it, maybe. Sounds reasonable. Course in Miracles. Maybe this could be. Maybe it's just some big psychological joke, and maybe MK Ultra's printed this book and they're trying to fuck with my head. Like who the hell knows? You got no idea of knowing anything, right? You can't work it out, and every avenue that you try to take with it and explore it out to try and find the truth, which is what you're ultimately looking for, your truth. It brings you right back to you again, right? Finger on my nose. I can't do anything with this information. I have to have the experience, right? I have to have an experience that shows me something not of the world. And I was just talking to a guy online before about something he was talking to me about Kundalini awakening and chakras and whatever. And he watched my video about how there's no such thing as chakras or glands, that become awakened and all of this stuff. It's simply a decision in the mind. And that goes against the rub of like 6,000 years of Hindu sort of astral yogic traditions in many regards, especially in the West, where we've come up against our own hopelessness with religion and we're looking desperately somewhere else. And you tend to latch on to something that, you know, little brown men that smell of incense and wearing loincloths in India, they seem quite credible because they're completely different to what you find like businessmen wearing suits that are just trying to take your money. It's like, holy shit, these guys are the closest things to holy that I've ever discovered on earth. And that may be the fact, But literally, Jesus is telling you the holiest places on earth is where you forgive an ancient hatred. You know, it doesn't get holier than that. And that's within yourself. You know, so you're going to have all these indicators, you're going to have all these sort of witnesses and all these sort of things within the framework of the matrix that's telling you this is the way to go, that's the way to go, and all these sorts of things. But ultimately, nothing I see means anything, right? You've got to put it all into context, and you need a pivot point to be able to do that. Is it eternal? Is it not eternal? I could be sitting with the Dalai Lama and he could be telling me a whole bunch of stuff. He's still not anything. It's still part of the dream. It's still an illusion. He's talking about peace, love, and happiness and everything else, but it's still not my truth, right? It's him talking about his truth. And it sounds good to me because it seems to be better than what my shit is, right? To a certain point. Eventually, you've got to get past religion. You've got to get past all those ideas and thoughts and concepts and enter into an experience. Beyond the experience, there's nothing. You're free, right? When your mind absolutely embraces the truth and you remember your truth, which is within you already and somewhere you have already remembered, right? Then nothing else confuses you. Nothing else becomes a problem. Right? Everything just becomes, aha, I see. Or, oh, I don't know. It's one of those. I don't know. Or it's, I see, I get it. Right? And that's kind of like the two perspectives you got. And it's the same perspective, really. I mean, you're coming to a point of seeing where you're at with absolutely everything all the time. I'm either separate from it or I'm one with it. Right? If I'm separate from it, I need to do my work. If I'm one with it, I can't even realize that I'm one with it. Right? What is there separate from me that I'm saying I'm one with? Right? It doesn't register. It's like a drop of water in the ocean. Well, how can a drop of water in the ocean be one with the ocean? You can't. You're just the ocean. Right? Or you're a damn big drop. Either way, it doesn't matter. Whichever one you want. Right? But big is relative. So spiritual awakening is literally a constant sorting out of what's true from what's false. If you're using the body's eyes to do that, if you're using the thoughts in your head to do that, it's always going to be from the point of view of it being false because it's false receptors, false mechanism, false reporting, right? The only true place you can really operate from in the world that has any kind of integrity is from I don't know. I don't know the meaning of life. That keeps your mind open to the possibility of it being something that you don't know. Right? Then you can be shown. If you've already filled in the blanks in advance, the meaning of life is this and that and the other based on chats you've had with the Dalai Lama, then you've already filled up the space. Right? The Dalai Lama says this. Dave says that. Ramana Maharshi says this. Your head's already full of shit. How's God going to put his little tiny one drop of common sense in there and help you to see the truth? You have to be in that place where you've emptied the vessel. I don't know. I'm just going to leave my cup open and I'm going to let the Lord fill it up. I'm going to let the universe show me what the truth is. And it's never going to be what you think it is because it's not contained in your thoughts. Literally, if it was, you would have found it already. Everyone that sat down to meditate over thousands and thousands of years will have come up with the same conclusion. Oh, it's this. It's a red chicken with purple socks, or whatever. But they'd always arrive at the same conclusion. The fact that nobody can find it in their thoughts is like I watched a thing the other day with this guy. It was pretty cool. It wasn't exactly transcendental or transformative really, but this guy was on, those TED Talks or whatever. It was something like that. There was this talk. And he said, I want you guys to close your eyes. He said, I'm going to show you how to find the soul, right? I want you guys to close your eyes and then without verbalizing it outwardly, I want you to say, I am the soul in your mind, in your own thoughts, right? And then he goes on to say, who is it that said that? It didn't come out of your mouth. right? The words didn't come out of your mouth. It wasn't your physical entity saying that. It was something inside, right? Now, Ramana Maharshi has much the same sort of teaching. Who is it that's speaking, right? So he would say, like you identify the true speaker in there, and then you try to find the source of the speaker. Where the fuck did that voice come from in my head? Where is it originating? Right? And you try to find it, and you can't. You can't find it because it doesn't actually exist. It's like there's nobody driving the car, right? It's like when you have a beer, and the bubbles at the bottom, and you watch the bottom, and you're like, where the hell do those bubbles come from? And you can't find where they come from. They just seem to come out of nowhere, right? And like, unless you've got a bit of an understanding of chemistry and gases and things like that, you're probably going to sit there staring at that beer for like 20 minutes and be like completely like, where the hell do they come from? It's fascinating, right? But it's like, where do your thoughts come from? I'm all tangled up in the computer weeds here. Where do my thoughts come from? Right? So you try to find it. Now, when I tell you guys about pushing into consciousness, right? Pushing up against the veil or leaning into listening, which is the same thing. When you meditate, I mean, at a very beginner's level of meditation, you're trying to make your mind still. You're trying to be quiet, right? And you can learn to do that by focusing on a mantra, a repetitive sort of thing that, like a saying or whatever, spiritual saying, whatever helps you. Or you can focus on an image if you're more creative minded and you can see imagery in there, and try to hold that one image or that one mantra again and again and again until your mind gets the idea of what you're trying to do. Okay? Because you always come at this from the point of view that my mind is completely untrained. It's like it's a puppy dog. I've just allowed it to run rampant all over my life, and I haven't ever bothered to sit and train my mind to actually do anything. Right? It just goes blah, 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 blah all day, all night. So when you learn to meditate, one of the techniques of meditating is to focus on a singular thought or a singular picture, a singular image or whatever, and then to go beyond that by allowing that to be let go, right? And what happens is you'll have external interference, you'll have internal interference, you'll have all these thoughts, and Jesus says, like, imagine them as a mad procession of carriages on a train or something going by. And the temptation at first will be, imagine if it's like a circus train and you got elephants in one car and tigers, and then you got other thing, monkeys and whatever, and you'll be like, elephants, tigers, oh, monkeys, and you'll follow the monkeys, right? And because you like monkeys, you've got an association with monkeys. Before you know it, your mind's off wandering to every story you've ever heard about monkeys, how you went to Thailand and somebody got robbed by a monkey, which they do, they rob you, and all this stuff. And half an hour will go by and you'll completely forget that your whole purpose was to sit in meditation, right? It's what happens, right? It's funny stuff. And so you waste half an hour and then you get despondent about it. It's like, God damn, monkey's got me again. And you don't want to meditate because, like, what the hell? What's the point? I keep getting distracted by stuff, right? But literally, that's why mind training is important, right? It's important. You've got to give it a value. It's like if you're studying to be a doctor or a brain surgeon or something like that, you can't just flip through the book and go, that blood vessel goes to that blood vessel. You've got to know the names. You've got to know what you're cutting. You've got to know the parts. You've got to know it inside out. Jesus says you have to learn this, overlearn this course to learn this course. You can't just wing it, right? Salvation, you can't just wing it. You've got to actually put in the work, do the work, put in the effort. So when you're meditating, and I'm not sure how we got onto meditating here. Oh, yeah, consciousness. When you're meditating, you want to be leaning in on your meditation, right? So, what are you laughing at, Tina? I'm just lost track of it for a second. So you're leaning in on your meditation, which is listening. All right. It's conscious listening. You're listening for the call to awaken. You're listening for the voice for the Holy Spirit within you. The trouble you're going to have with that is you've already got some idea what you think the voice might sound like. Because you've seen a Cecil B. DeMille movie and the angels spoke through the clouds and it's going to be a voice like that. Or you've watched something else like The Matrix and you think that a voice from the beyond might sound like Morpheus, some baritone African kind of like, hey, Neo, you know, and whatever. So I'm not good at accents, but everyone is going to have their own references for what they think the voice might sound like, and you got to let that go, right? It's simply about saying yes and staying open to the possibility of what it might sound like, right? You always have to be in that place. I don't know. I don't know what the freaking Holy Spirit's going to sound like when it speaks to me. How do I know? How do I know what the Holy Spirit sounds like? I haven't heard it before. It might sound like 1,000 people in a choir. It might sound like a booming voice from the clouds. It might sound like a little whisper. It might sound like a cat. You know, it can sound like anything. But the thing is, you'll know it when you hear it because it's your true voice. You're listening for your true voice, not the dialogue, not the voice that goes on in your head 24/7. That's not your true voice. That's the voice of ego. It's part of your truth. Ego is not separate from you, but it's badly trained. It's a part of your mind. It's the part that operates in the lower order, right? In this realm, in the down below, in the conscious. But we're attempting to reach beyond the conscious. We're attempting to reach higher conscious or the miracle level of mind. You don't want to listen to that voice that doesn't know what that is. So keep your mind open to the possibility of something else. So when you're meditating, you're keeping your mind open. And every time the monkeys goes past on the train or whatever goes past to distract you, you're already becoming more practiced in letting go, letting go, letting go. Stay in the yes, stay open. Does that make sense, Colin? Good. Keep your mind open. Don't be distracted by the monkeys. When that voice talks to you, ignore it, right? It has nothing of value to say. When you're sitting there and you're quietly trying to meditate and you're thinking, oh, must be nearly lunchtime, or you're giving yourself all these seemingly credible ideas why you should get up and stop meditating, or why you should get up and stop your prayer or whatever, right? But the ego will literally use anything. I think there's someone at the door. Was that the phone I just heard? And each of these things will trigger off a cascade of, is that the phone I just heard? Maybe that wasn't my ringtone. And then what does my ringtone sound like? And then before you know it, you're gone again. It's just like the monkeys. You're off on another wild tangent. You've invented a whole nother world based off one thought that entered into your mind, completely distracted, which is why mind training is important. You've got to train your mind to be still. Yes, Lord, here I am, and you stay put. Let all the shit go on in your mind around you. Just don't try to stop it. Don't try to block it out. Just let it be there. Just don't listen to it. All right? The ego's like a bully. If you ignore it, eventually it fades away. It just goes away. Okay? It's like a little kid throwing a tantrum because it wants attention. Don't give it any attention. And what's the point of the tantrum if it doesn't get me what I want? Okay. That's the voice in your head 24/7. And it takes consistency, devotion, and discipline to your mind training to not block it out, but focus instead on staying open to the possibility, staying open to what your yes represents. Okay. So we're not fighting against our old self. We're staying open to our new self. Does that make sense? We're not trying to make friends with the ego. Or somebody told me once they just had to make friends with their ego and everything would be fine. It's like the ego loves you to validate it, make friends with it, and makes it real, but only real to you, you know? So it's like, all right, well, I'm not going to do anything with my ego. It's like, yes, that's a good start. But you have to admit you have one because you've got a physical body, which is the symbol of the ego, right? But as you turn over your purpose to the Holy Spirit, your body begins to serve your new purpose and healing begins to come forth, etc., etc. But only in retrospect to how it is that your mind training develops. Okay, which is why mind training is important. Jesus says it's the most important thing for you now. in this dimension, in this realm, in this world, your mind training is the most important thing. Train your mind to listen. Train your mind to be still. When you're truly listening, you'll find yourself going from that place where you've got and you can, like I said, you can use a mantra, which is still your own internal thoughts. Okay, but you're training your ego to serve you, not the other way around. So instead of listening to it and being distracted by it, you're giving it instruction. And it sounds funny because there's a you and then the instruction you're giving to something else that seems separate, but you've got to deal with it where you find it. You can't like escape the paradox. Okay. So it's like even though you're training yourself not to listen to your incessant babble, you're going to use that babble, right? So Jesus says in the Course, like the Holy Spirit will use what you give him on your behalf of your awakening. So you're going to use the ability that you've made as language, as words, as ideas and concepts to navigate your own awakening. Ultimately, to bring yourself to the navigational point where you realize there's nothing to navigate. But until you get there for yourself, it's going to be this ongoing process of mind training. Does that make sense? Okay. So you do the work until you no longer need to do the work. Right? It's a self-deflating, what do you call that? Self-divesting curriculum. Right? You use what you've made in error to help you escape the error itself. And then you don't need to use anything to do anything. Right? Because once you've escaped prison, you don't go back in to see if you've escaped, to look for yourself in the cell, right? You're just out. You're on the other side, and you're like, oh, I'm out, and you realize it, and then all of the mind training and everything else is pointless from that point on. The mind training is only to help you get out. Once you're out, you don't need it. Does that make sense, Noodle? Cool. I know guys that have been stuck doing mind training, and I say stuck because it becomes the habituation for like 20 years, 30 years, doing the Course in Miracles. It's like, man, just throw the freaking thing away. Just live in what it is that you've got from it and see where that takes you. You know, it's like that last step, that last leap of faith is when Jesus says, and now there are no more lessons because you have no further need of them. Do I take him at his word for that? I've taken him at his word for everything else. Am I just going to trust I'm supported? Am I just going to trust the universe has got my back? Or am I going to go back next year and do my lessons again? Am I just going to doubt the savior of all mankind? And you got to look at those things. It's like these are honesty points. It's like, what am I really doing? What am I really doing in my mind? What am I really saying yes to? What am I really committing to? Am I giving up the world and following Jesus? Am I taking that leap of faith? I remember when I was at the healing center and like I don't know, every 6, 8 months or whatever, I'd take a few days out and I'd go visit my family over the border. It was like a 2, 3 hour drive away. And when I came back, I'd always see how different I was. But I couldn't see how different I was. I couldn't see how my mind had shifted and changed from within the framework of the healing center because I only had the same reference points for it. I only had the same witnesses, which was other people going through their stuff, you know. But it wasn't until I came up against some old references that I could see that those references were no longer the same as I once thought they were. It's like Carrie with her next door neighbor. She's been projecting all this shit onto the poor guy that's been trying to give her a better life and help her out. And all she's been doing is being ungrateful to him, you know, feeling justified in that ingratitude and getting the results of it, which is what, Carrie? It's terrible, isn't it? And yet this is the human condition. People love that. It's like, this is great. It gives me a sense of power. I can feel real cranky about somebody that's trying, you know, no good deed goes unpunished. Let me be the punisher. That's what you want. Let me be the punisher. This guy built me a whole patio and a barbecue and a whole thing and whatever for no cost to me, and I fucking hate him for it. It's like, how great is that? Look at the power you've got there. It's like, doesn't get you anything other than cancer, but you know, but if that's what you want, go for it, because that's how you learn. You get the results of your own thinking, and you have to get the results of your own thinking because that's how you learn. Nobody ever learned anything by not getting the results of their own thinking because it's impossible not to. Everything is your mind. Close your eyes for a second. Everything is my mind. Everything is my mind. Now open your eyes and look around the room. Everything is my mind. Everything is my mind. It's the same thing. There is nothing going on that your mind doesn't tell you what it is. It's only you in observance of it that allows you to have any kind of comprehension or understanding of where you are and where you think you are and what's going on. And yet Jesus is telling you, you're not here now. You're not in this world. You're not sitting there looking around with your eyes closed or your eyes open. You're actually in eternity, dreaming a dream of talking with Dave or sitting here with Dave, who's offering you some kind of something maybe to help you come to the understanding of what's actually going on. I was reading that thing. I finally got around to it, reading the Nobel Prize, those three scientists that were awarded the Nobel Prize for proving that the universe doesn't exist. And I'm just like, man, every sort of ascetic, holy man, bloody visionary, whatever, has been saying that for thousands of years. I've been saying it for like 30 years nearly. And it's like, finally, here's this. But then what do they do with it? You know, like what do you do with it once you realize it doesn't exist? If you don't have a way to process that it doesn't like what's next, it's like it stops there. You're gonna end up needing to secure more funding for a bigger budget, so you can build a bigger experiment to find out what actually does exist. If the universe doesn't exist, where does it come from? It's like looking for your thoughts. Who is it in there that's speaking? Who is it in there that's saying anything? Where is that voice coming from? Where is the universe coming from? And you find yourself always back in the paradox. Well, it's not coming from anywhere, and I'm not really here, yet I seem to be here. That's a real head fuck. How are you supposed to live a normal life with that kind of perspective? It's just like, that's going to drive me insane. I better not think about it. And I remember a few times I've heard people saying, the best advice about life is not to ask about it, not to inquire about it, because once you go down that rabbit hole, there's like no way out. It's just like one goes from one reflection of the paradox to another, to another, to another, till finally you can't take it anymore, and you decide you've got to do something about it, and you start a spiritual quest or you start some sort of inquiry, which keeps you on a parallel track to the paradox. You can't actually ever jump on the track where the paradox is because it doesn't exist. There is no such thing as a paradox. There is no world. But you can run alongside it and look at it from every avenue or every window you've got in your conscious mind that shows you something that you think is real, and look at it from the point of it being unreal. And so render the paradox credible to you again, but you can't ever escape it. Right? For that, it takes a miracle. It doesn't matter which angle you look down a kaleidoscope, you're always going to be looking down a kaleidoscope. You seem to be looking at one particular pattern, and as soon as you turn it, it's going to be the same exact thing in a different pattern. And you're like, how can this possibly be so? How is there so many infinite probability patterns in a kaleidoscope depending on these little tiny things? And it's like, and every time you turn a little bit, you try to work it out. What does it look like now? Oh, that's a good pattern. Have I seen this one before? And the mind's continually preoccupied with the kaleidoscope. Just put it down. Just put it down. Right? It's the whole thing. Stop looking at the paradox. Just put it down. Mind training is continually coming up against a decision between what's real and what's not real. and thus finding yourself in the paradox again and again and again and again and again until finally it permeates the dense fog of consciousness where you're like, what am I doing? What is the point of continually looking at this? I need an experience, right? And then it shifts gear, right? Then your awakening shifts gear because you don't know how to have an experience. You're finally fed up with the concepts. You're finally fed up with looking at the paradox. You're finally fed up with looking at your own situation. You just want an experience. And when that really kicks in, um, it's going to be whatever it looks like for you, but it's always going to be that confrontation or that moment of terror. You're going to be looking at that tiny moment of terror, and it's like, I'm ready, Jesus, because I can't keep looking at the paradox. I'm done, right? So when Jesus says to you 2,000 years ago, give up the world and follow me, you're like, well, let me just look at that. And you look at the paradox and you look at the paradox and you look at the paradox for another 2,000 years, 10,000 years, 20,000 years, and you keep making up more shit to look at it, turning that kaleidoscope as if it was going to be somehow different, and you might find a better way out of it other than following Jesus. There's not. Just put it down. Here I am, Lord, I'm done. But you don't reach that point where you're done until finally you see that there's no escape, until finally you see that you don't have a choice. You're in a situation that you can't win. You either surrender yourself, you either die to the old self to be born again, or you just die in the vessel and come back around again for another experience of sitting here with Dave in another goddamn satsang, like bored out of your brain after 1,000 years of satsangs. It's like, what the fuck I keep coming back to these things for? He's just telling me the same thing over and over and over and over. There is no world. There is no world. There is no world. There is no world. Eat meat. Don't eat meat. Whatever it looks like. Take off your clothes. Run down the street. Whatever. It's like the bigger the shock to the system, the better. But I mean, like eventually you've got to like shock yourself awake. It's like, what the fuck am I doing? What am I doing? I'm going to attend a satsang and then go back to work the next day and do accounting or go and sell secondhand cars or fucking what I do for a job. What the hell? Why don't I just walk into the desert, draw a circle like Jesus did and sit there in faith and go, I'm done, Jesus. And let the universe purify me. Let that occur, whatever needs to occur. Because you're only ever going to die anyway. Right? At the end of the road, there's a 6-foot hole in a pine box. It's like, no, I need an experience. I'm going to do whatever it takes to have that experience, Jesus. Guide me. Luckily, you don't have to walk into the desert and sit in a circle. You have the Holy Spirit. But you have to learn to listen. The Holy Spirit will guide you to your experience, to that place where you become revelation ready. I mean, if you want to go sit in the desert, you can. It's like, whatever gets you there. I don't think I have enough faith to sit in the desert for 40 days and 40 nights, but who knows what that's meant to look like. I don't know. Hey, that's my thing when I'm done, Tina.
Aren't you doing that anyway? Are you doing that for 3 months?
Yeah, I'm doing that anyway. Well, actually, we're going into the desert, me and Annie and maybe Nicole and a few other guys for 90
Me?
days. Huh? Yeah, maybe you, if you get your ass out of there.
I thought you told me to come.
Right, exactly. It'll be fun. We're going to have no water. We're all going to smell like death within like 3 days, like us, like we're doing these ones. Get the flies out, like
Looking
it's
forward
going to
to
be
it.
really bad. And when I say really bad, I'm underestimating how bad it's going to be. But it's going to be really bad. We're all going to smell to high heaven. We're going to run out of water, food, and everything. And it's just going to be like one of those ones.
We're gonna die.
We're just going to have to let it be miraculous. I know, right? It's going to be funny. So, and we'll record it so you'll be able to see us all dying and just like going, getting dehydrated and shit. Uh,
Mm, mm, mm,
like it's literally yes. Like,
mm,
yes, you have to practice with little yeses that you can understand to see the benefit of them. So when finally it comes time for the big yes, yes, Lord, here I am, You're not even going to question it. If Jesus knocks on your door, give up the world and follow me, you're not going to stand there and go, and evaluate the benefits one way or the other. It's got to be an unequivocal yes. There's not even a back door. There's no safety net. There's no escape plan. It's just like, I'm fucking done with this world. I'm out. Yep, take me. Here I am, Lord. Mm. And that's always a place in your own mind, right? Just because I'm talking about it doesn't mean that's where everybody's at. You got to realize that that place, that doneness is in you. It's somewhere in you already because the resurrection is occurring in you. The salvation is occurring in you, whether you're participating consciously or whether you just have it as an idea or not, doesn't really matter. It's in you, right? The call is in you. God placed the call to awaken in everybody. The fact that you're even sitting here hearing about it now means that there's something in you that's prompted you. I mean, other people in the world be sitting there going, what the hell is that guy talking about? He must be done too much drugs. And like they have no idea what I'm talking about and they think I'm crazy. Right? But it's like you only got to have one shift in consciousness. You only got to have one step out of time, one shift into invisibility, and you'll know that crazy is what not knowing God is. You know, crazy is the ignorance. Crazy is thinking that I'm a human being with human aspirations. It's like, forget about that shit. This whole dimension doesn't actually exist. This whole dimension, this whole world, realm, fucking paradigm that we call life isn't actually a real thing. Right? That ought to be scary enough. It's like, what do you mean it's not a real thing? What is real? If this isn't real, what is real? How are you saying it's not real? What are you comparing it to that makes you believe it's not real? I'm comparing it to an experience of reality that I've had that showed me without doubt that this world is not real. It's just an illusion. It's like smoke and mirrors. And then you'll be sitting there saying, well, maybe you did have too much drugs. Maybe. Right? And it's always going to come down to a leap of faith. I mean, you already know where every avenue in the road leads to now already anyway. 6 foot hole, pine box. What have you got to lose? Right? Literally, what have you got to lose? What if I just go and sit in the desert for, 40 days and draw a circle? What have I got to lose? That's all that was ever going to happen to me anyway. And you can rationalize that. You can just sort of say to yourself, well, at least if I die in the desert, it saves me another 30 years of putting up with paying taxes and having to decide on what I want to eat for dinner every night and all those stupid things that just like fucking, the mundanity of it. But you don't do it because you love the mundanity of it. Right? It's where it comes back to. I'm always the liar. I'm always part and parcel of my own denial. All the stuff that I'm experiencing in the world, I experience it because I want to. I love it. It gives me that sense of power over God. I am my own authority. I'll do it my way. Thanks very much. Sickness is always consciously chosen. Pain is always consciously chosen. Death is consciously chosen. Your will is as powerful as the will of God because you were created in the image of God with the same attributes as God mind creating to create as God creates. The fact that the fact that I'm using that power miscreatively to create my own empire and have my own little revolving door experience of incarnation after incarnation after incarnation doesn't mean that I'm not using the power of God mind creating to do that. Because God is everything, therefore the power that I have to seemingly present myself as a credible thing in the world must come from the power of God mind creating, if God is everything. Right? So essentially, God's doing this to you. Fuck you, God. It's like you can't get out of it. Fuck you, God, and fuck all the angels and fuck everything. And you like, I'm out. Right? That's the attitude of the ego. blame God, right? Even though the ego's premise is there is no God, I am God, right? Because it can't blame itself. It has to blame God and therefore verify God by that blame, like who's doing this to me? Right? Ultimately, you realize, well, hang on, if God's everything and I'm part of God, I'm doing this to me, therefore I'm God. Right? Exactly. I'm doing this to me. There's not God somewhere else doing this to me and me experiencing it. I am God experiencing myself separate from myself, doing whatever it seems to be to myself to validate my separation. And I love it because it's an experience that doesn't happen in eternity. I can't have this in eternity. I can't bump my toe on the curb. I can't eat cereal for breakfast. I can't do anything in eternity. It's not like this at all. This is a whole phantom zone. And I'm reluctant to let go of it because when I get back to eternity, what if I miss my cereals? What if I miss bumping my toe on the curb? I love pain. It gives me something I can't have in eternity. I tell myself I don't like it because it hurts, but that's not really true. I love it because it hurts. I manifest sickness, pain, suffering, and death for myself because it's fucking terrible. And I love it. I love the terribleness of it. That's how mad ego is, right? I love to be sick. It verifies separation. I love to be healthy. It verifies separation. It's the duality, the both sides of the coin, the yin yang. When Jesus says, give up the world, it's like, look what you're giving up. Oh my God, I'm giving up all that lovely breakfast cereal and banging my toe on the curb. How can I do that? I have to just go back to eternity where I won't have any more cereal. There's nothing. And it's like, that's right. It's like, imagine if you got locked into Disneyland at night and they came to let you out in the morning and you've been there all night and you'd be like, I know every square inch of Disneyland. I've been walking around here all night. And to yourself, you're an authority on Disneyland at night. No one else sees it at night. It's like you don't want to go out in the morning. You want to stay there and have another night just to confirm to yourself that you know everything you think you know about it. But it's pointless. Nobody likes Disneyland at night. Or maybe they do, I don't know. But I imagine it as being a dark sort of place. All the lights go off, all the rides shut down. Exactly. Yeah. So, you know, it's a funny thing. We endure the world because we want to. I suffer the world because I want to. Jesus says, give up the world and follow me. And I say no because I want to. So I'm constantly in the assessment of my yes by realizing that my yes to Jesus is actually false. I'm saying yes because I feel like that's what I should be saying because Jesus is my brother and he represents all these things that I really, aspire to as far as love goes. And I'm told and believe that love is in my best interest and I don't really want to be stubbing my toe on the footpath all the time. But I'm a liar. God is not preventing me from my awakening. Jesus is waiting there, waiting for me to say an actual honest moment of yes. And it's going to be at the place where I realize that I've actually been saying no all along. Right? And that's where you got to accept your own denial. Oh shit, I'm in denial. Right? But the light's got to go on, not just because I tell you, you've got to realize it. All of a sudden, it's like reading a book and you read the page on the book and it's like, holy shit, I didn't see that coming. That's a real twist in the plot. Right? It's like all of a sudden you realize, oh shit, I'm in denial. I'm sitting here saying I love God and I want love and I want peace and whatever. But actually, the backstory is, I'm in denial. So all the stuff that I say I want, as far as peace and love and everything else, is built on a false premise. It's not actually true. The foundation of my desire to know my Father or my want for God is built on falsity, which is why in the 4 blocks to the awareness of love's presence, the first one is the desire to get rid of peace. And you've got to realize that, oh shit, I don't want peace. I want conflict because conflict gets me something. I want chaos. I don't want it too much. I just want it manageable, just so as I can stick around till the ending and find out how it all ends. Did they get my hole exactly 6 feet deep? Is my box pine or oak? It's funny. It's funny stuff. You realize how freaking mental the whole thing is. I'm being offered something I don't really want. I'm telling myself I want it. I'm pursuing what it is that's required to want it according to Jesus in the Course in Miracles. But until you actually uncover the blocks, it doesn't mean a damn thing, which is why it's a journey into fear, to face those blocks, to see. It's like Carrie with her neighbor, right? She got to see how venomous and vindictive and hateful she was towards her neighbor who only was doing nice things for her. But until you actually saw it, it was kind of like this sort of peripheral thing that you could avoid. You knew it was there, but you didn't really have to look at it because your neighbor lives in a house down the street. But when it come time to actually looking at it from a point of view of healing, it's like, holy cow, it's a raging bull in a china shop. Right? And you get to see where it is. And you're either going to be grateful for seeing it, or you're not going to be grateful for seeing it. And that's where you get to see whether you're really in this for what it's about. There's always like this willingness. Yes, I'm willing to forgive. Yes, I'm willing to forgive. Yes, I'm willing to forgive. And then, oh, but I can't forgive that. So, is that all good? April, is that good with you?
Mm-hmm.
In the darkness?
Yes.
So the whole process of purification becomes an uncovering of falsity, sorting out what's true from what's false, and admitting to what's false. I'm a false being operating under false premises, giving false responses. I'm a liar, like Jesus says, you're a liar and the son of a liar. Every word that proceeds from the mouth of man is a lie. Now, if you can accept that and operate under that premises, you're not going to trust yourself when it comes time to making decisions, and you're going to learn more and more to defer that decision making to the Holy Spirit. Here I am, Lord. I'm a freaking liar. I need help. I can't even make a simple decision about this. I need a miracle, right? And that's what's required. You're learning to become miracle minded. You're learning to become completely dependent on God. It's surrender. It's total surrender. I don't know, Lord. I don't know how to choose the right path. I don't know how to choose the right thing. I just want salvation, right? Because if I give my own 2 cents worth, I'm probably going to lie. It's probably like, if you have a glass of crystal clear water and you put even one little tiny bit of mud into that water and you stir it around, you may not see the mud, but it doesn't mean the water's pure anymore, right? It may look pure. You may think it's pure, but it's still tainted by that tiny little bit of mud. That's the situation you're in. So, oh, well, I think my intentions are honest, right? But the road to hell is paved by good intentions. I think that was Eurydice said that, wasn't it? The road to hell. Who's the guy that conquered all the Julius Caesar? I think maybe that was Julius Caesar. But if you can learn to operate from the place where I'm always wrong and God's always right, I'm always a liar and the Holy Spirit's always the truth, then you're going to learn more and more that your best interests are served by aligning with the Holy Spirit, by aligning with your higher guide. And it always comes back to the point of, I don't know. I don't know what my best interests are. Jesus is telling me in the Course, I do not perceive my own best interests, right? All I see when I look at a situation in the world, this relationship or that relationship, all I see is my own best interests within the framework of the relationship as I understand it. Once I admit that I don't actually understand it because I don't actually know where I am, what I'm about, who I actually am, and what the universe is, then I can let go of holding on to any kind of premise I have about the relationship, and I can be shown. It's important. Mind training is important. And to the ego, that's a big kind of like kick in the guts. It's like, oh, well, I'm a liar. It's like, no, to me, that's my joy. It's like, fuck yeah, I'm a liar. I'm here amongst all my fellow liars, and we've been lying from the beginning, and now we're starting to admit to the fact we're liars, and it's kind of funny. It's like, we've all just been lying all along, like we're just kidding ourselves, and now we're not going to take it seriously anymore because like we've been exposed. It's like when you play hide and seek. I can see your feet under the curtains, and it's like, no, you can't. Not only can they see your feet, but they just heard your voice. They know you're there. It's like, just come out from behind the damn curtains. It's like the game's over. You know, Jesus is already here. Look, put your fingers in the damn holes. It's already done. It's me. And you're like, yeah, I don't know about that, Jesus. It could be just another guy that looks like you and pokes some holes. I don't know. Like that's how crazy the ego is. It'll doubt, 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 doubt. Don't listen to it. Don't listen to it. I'm all the denial there is. Let it rest on my shoulders. For each of you, take it on board from your own perspective. Let it rest on my shoulders. I'm all the denial there is. The Sufis call it to be blameworthy. I'm worthy of blame for all the suffering of the world. I am to blame for it because I'm the one seeing it. I'm the one that calls it suffering. I'm the one that identifies it as this, that, and the other than love, other than the teaching, learning mechanism of mind waking up. And I split it up by doing that. It was funny talking to the chakra guy this morning, and we get to the end of the dialogue, or I think it's getting to the end of the dialogue, and he has a moment of honesty where he's trying to convince to me that the experiences he's had with chakras are real and credible, and I'm trying to present a reasonable place that, well, if there's no world and if you're not the body, then what kind of experiences have you had actually? Like they can't be real and credible. And at the end, he's like, well, to be honest, all of my experiences were on drugs, and it's like, well, but you'll try, like it's the whole thing. You'll try to validate something that's not validatable. It's like anyway, it can be from any perspective, you know. It's a funny thing. It's like how many times have you been thought you were right about something only to find out later you were wrong? It's like Tina and I this morning just having that exact same thing. She's got a whole perspective on what she thought was happening, and all I had to do was play the last 2 seconds of the clip with Christopher Walken, and that was the whole and it wasn't anything like what she thought was actually happening. You know, that's the whole world in one moment. The whole world is something I think is happening that isn't actually happening. The paradox. I'm always in the paradox, always. But to be in the paradox is to keep yourself up against that inevitability, up against that possibility and that openness for something else to happen that shows you the true nature of life. Right? Trying to avoid the paradox is pointless. You know it's there. Trying to avoid it causes anxiety. Trying to deny it causes depression. It's like it just drags you down. It's like, no, let me just accept it. Let me accept the paradox. I seem to be a living flesh thing with a name and with hobbies and with things I like and don't like and whatever. But a non-celestial being is telling me that I'm actually also a non-celestial being and that they want me back. They want me to wake up now from this dream. And it's like, well, let me stay in that place. Because in that place, I can say yes to whatever that might look like as far as my awakening goes. If I'm following the monkeys, then I'm out of the peripheral sort of association with my awakening. I'm just dragged off into the astral, back into the dream. Let me at least stay in the vibrational association that my awakening is happening to me, in the world here, which is my relationship with Jesus, which is my relationship with the Holy Spirit, which is my relationship with a completely non-judgmental, energetic that loves me unconditionally, including all my isms and my non-isms and my fors and my againsts. It includes everything. My biases and my non-biases, my fucking whatever, my sickness and my health. Right? The nature of unconditional love is something that, like, man, you got to really let your mind open up to it. Unconditional. Try to imagine it. Unconditional. You go on YouTube and you'll have all you get is the stuff of the world where one side is versing the other side, or one person saying this and the other person saying that. Someone did something to somebody and somebody wants retribution and we're going to sue you. There's no solution in anything there outside of yourself. No solution. None. It doesn't matter how many well-meaning people, politicians, bloody role models stand up and say, this is it. Look what I'm doing and do like I'm. Doesn't matter. None of that. This is your awakening. It's within you. That's what you got to find. You won't find the reference for it outside, but as your mind begins to change, you will see the witnesses to it in the changes reflected out in the world in your relationships on the small scale and the big scale. Everything is God. Everything is mind. Everything is just one thing. It's just energy, just light. Manifest as 8 billion people on a planet doing whatever the hell we think we're doing. All of a sudden, 2,000 years ago, Jesus came along, pulled the plug out of the bathtub and said, hey, come on, it's time to go. Get out of the bathtub. And you're like, no, I don't want to get out of the bathtub. I'm enjoying the bathtub. It's funny. And you wait until the last dribble of water goes down. It's like, and then there's going to be 8 billion people waiting for that last dribble of water to go down. They're all going to want to jump down at the same time. It's going to be like, can you imagine it? It's like you've been called to get out of the bathtub now. Just get out. Avoid the rush. It's going to be a heck of an ending. I know. Jesus says, in the last day, there will be many that call my name, Savior, Savior, Lord, Lord, we walked with you. And he said, there will be wailing and gnashing of teeth. You know, he can't do anything about it. It's like there's a pinhole. What's that? A prick in time? No, anyway, they make a pinhole in the universe and all the universe starts to get sucked out. And it's like, eventually it starts to get smaller and smaller and everybody's like sort of, it's like, get out now. Avoid the rush. Make hay while the sun shines. Seek the Lord whilst you have breath. Jono, what's happening?
Um,
What's that thing up behind you on the wall? I've been looking at it, the tunnel or whatever. Yeah, that one.
oh, that was I made that to like represent the stereo field.
Oh,
So
okay.
I was
Yeah.
like really fast by that.
I've seen something like that in orange above my head, but it was circular. It wasn't round. It just went up and up and up. I was walking to the toilet one day and I just got prompted to look up and there was this orange tunnel that looked like that just out of light and it went up and it kind of scared me and I went back into the session afterwards and I said to my teacher Ted, I said I just went to the toilet and there was this big orange tunnel above me and he goes, that's a portal. He said, don't jump in. And he said salvation's happening in this world, not wherever that leads, And I didn't really know what he meant, but I got the sense that if I had have put my hands up or something, I would have gone whoop up into it. And I don't know, maybe not, but it
Crazy.
reminded me of your picture. So, so it was pretty cool. What's going on with you anyway?
Um, since last week, I feel like I've like today I just felt kind of like the discomfort from like reading the course. I feel like it's set in, but I still feel like I've been thinking about like just walking around just thinking about how everything is just mind and like
Right,
I can just really I can really just like feel that
right.
and last week I was inspired when you said like I see a great calling within you, and that was something I've it's something I was really thinking about that day and like the week before. And like I don't really have anyone to talk to about these certain ideas.
Yeah,
So I
you
decided
do.
to I mean you guys, but like before, but like but like and then I was like yeah, let me make a YouTube channel just like discussing like my journey and things I've realized to really just help people. And like I was like inspired by the part of the course where it said sharing is giving, and like the more people know and more people receive the thoughts, the more they get strengthened and there's no
Right. Yep.
loss. 'Cause everything is
Right.
just perfect
Yeah,
love anyway.
exactly. Thoughts are
But I had
increased by sharing.
yeah. And I had a guru before. He was a little younger than me. And I was kind of into Eastern Enlightenment before I found the course. And he taught me a lot in terms of like my journey, and I kind of felt more deeply of how the world is just an illusion and just a dream from him and learning through like different
Right.
sages and stuff like that. Um, but I felt kind of like betrayed by him because after I posted my videos of me like teaching and explaining, he like unfollowed me. So I was like, I think I knew he was going to before I even did, though. I knew he was going to because I knew how he thought about like other people teaching. He thinks that like people are selfish for teaching and that they're trying to get the name, but it wasn't for that at all. But
Right.
yeah, that's
We're
been
all
something
we're
I've
all selfish.
yeah.
It's the condition. Doesn't
And
matter.
like you said,
Doesn't matter what you transpose that onto.
yeah. And just the admitting of like you're a liar too, or like you're yeah, like what you were saying before, it's kind of like along those same lines.
It's refreshing though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, thank God you can finally admit that you don't know anything. It's like, oh, thank
Yeah.
God I don't have to know. You don't
Yeah.
have to know. It's like a whole weight off your shoulders. It's like I don't have to know about the universe. I don't have to know about life. I don't have to know nothing. I'm
Yeah.
already I'm already one with it, and you stay in that, and it just reveals itself.
Yeah.
It's like bit by bit, day by day. It's like, oh, I get it. And the pennies drop in, ding, ding, ding. If it all fell on your head all at once, it'd be too much, you know.
Yeah. I've been tapping into like the I am presence as well. Like I went back to reading this course. Well, I went back to reading the I am discourses by Saint Germain. I don't know if you've heard about that.
Oh, nice. Yeah, yeah.
And that like from understanding the course and like rereading that and listening to that, I'm like, yo, this makes perfect sense because like there's just
Right,
perfect love. You let the power of God come through you. It's like
right,
I was able to heal like I've been suffering from like nerve pain in my hands, like carpal tunnel and like my hips. And, and like I'll sometimes I'll just be like, Holy Spirit, come down to me and heal this, or I'll be like, I am the perfect electronic essence within this mind and body, filling and renewing every cell. And then I get healed and I'm like, yo, and I'm like, God is just he's since I'm allowing this power and allowing this perfect love because I know it just exists, like God's allowing me to affirm his power and alleviating my thinking of that I'm separate from my ego, like
Right.
harming his power, So I'm like, and it's selfish in a way because the ego tries to trick you thinking like, no, you're being greedy with God's power, or like, no, this doesn't even exist or whatever. But it's like, no, like it's just perfect love. You are perfectly entitled to that and to the experience of even revelation.
Absolutely. Perfectly entitled. You got it. You're a child of God. That's it.
Yeah,
You are entitled to it.
yeah,
Right. Good. That's not arrogance to say that. It's not arrogance to claim that. That's the truth. It's arrogance
yeah,
to deny it.
yeah,
That's beautiful. And it's like you're right, it is selfish, but it's selfish in a true sense, right?
yep,
It's selfish because you can't have it for yourself unless you're offering it to everyone. So in that it's selfless, right? Only what you receive for the giving can you partake of, right? It's like I don't want anything that I can't share with everyone. That's it. In
yeah,
this world, that looks like healing. I want to share healing with everyone. The healing of my mind automatically affects the healing of others. Whether they're aware of it or not doesn't matter. The ability to talk about it, like in this Zoom meeting, and sort of like dialogue it a bit and whatever, that only helps more, right? Everything works for the program. Everything works for the awakening. It doesn't matter what you're doing. It's a completely selfless thing. I don't
yeah.
even know what to call it. Participation. There's nothing to worry about. Like literally nothing to worry about. God's in charge, not me.
Let go and let God.
Let go and let God. Yeah, that's it. It's so easy. There's no intermediary. You're already that. The Holy Spirit being the only real intermediary there is connected to you, part of you, and also connected to God, part of God, like that conduit. It's like there's no separation there either. Like the mind tries to analyze it. It's like, well, if the Holy Spirit, like Jesus says, I stand halfway between man and God in case your prayers fail temporarily, which only lends to the argument that your prayers are not genuine, right? It doesn't mean they're not effective. It just means they're not as genuine as they could be. And the more integrity you put into them, the more powerful they'll be to the point where eventually you don't even need Jesus, right? There was a point, there was a point in my transformation where Jesus spoke to me and he said, I will now support you in whatever you do on behalf of the atonement, which left me in a place of, well, what the fuck am I supposed to do? And I haven't really heard Jesus speak to me much since then. That was it. Prior to then, I was hearing him reasonably regularly, but I'd kind of crossed this threshold in my mind where an invisible threshold and unknowns to me, where obviously somebody up there was watching and they're like, yep, he's got it. You know, we'll leave him to run with it now. And it's like same thing with your old teacher. He didn't unfollow you because of any reason you imagine. He unfollowed you because that's the activity of God in your life. That's what was meant to happen. The
Hmm.
story you give to it is pointless. It's just a story like any other story. Let it go.
Hmm.
You know, that was what was meant to happen. Right? And it's the same. It'll be the same with me. It'll be the same with everything in life. When it's time, there's always going to be a story. This happened because of that. No, it's not. There's no this because of that. This happened because God. That
Yeah,
happened because God. You know, it's like the story is just my mind wanting to rationalize it and make the dream real to me in a way that still verifies the dream and the entity within the dream that I think I am as a Dave or a John or a whatever.
yeah.
You know, it's really cool when you see it that way. It's just like, yes, yes, there's nothing to worry about. I'll just stay in the I don't know. I'll just stay in the I don't know and I'll let go and I'll just let God and everything else will fall into place. Like Osho. I don't make any decisions. It just happens to me. I just find myself doing whatever I'm meant to do because there's this recognition I'm part of God, right? And then you get to the point where you realize you're part of God to the level where realizing you're part of God is also keeping you separate from the activity of being what God is in the world. Right? There's no you and a God to be a part of. I am that. It's simply what I am. I am Christ. You are Christ. All is one. Not we are one, all is one. So everything's one thing. So it's like we're literally the creation of God, allowing ourselves to experience in separation how incredible it is to be the creation of God. It's like the ultimate prodigal son. And then we go home. It's like, wow. I'm God examining myself for a moment, realizing something in the context of a story that where something seems to be have gone wrong, something seems to be a tiny mad idea, but actually nothing ever happened at all. And now I'm free. There is no world. There never was. There was just a moment. There was just a moment where I went, wow. There was just a moment where I said yes. There was just a moment where that yes showed me something in my own mind. Everything else is the preamble. Everything else is the precursor to that. It's the queue outside the cinema or the queue outside the nightclub. You get in, you do your dance, and you go home. And that's it. It was always just about that one dance, that one moment, that one incredible boom. All of this, mind training, boring. Boring. Boo. No more mind training. Get out of here. So have an experience. Have an experience. Just give it up. Just let go. Let go and take the ride. Whatever that looks like. Tina's getting pretty close. There can't be much left in you, Tina, surely. You know, when Jesus says, I'm aware of the revelation readiness of all my brothers everywhere, I'm sure you're on that list. It's just about that doneness. It's about the truth of that yes. It's about me saying my yes and realizing it's a no, right? So God's calling and I'm saying, yes, Lord, here I am, but nothing's happening. So my yes is actually a no. In the moment I say yes, and it's an actual genuine yes, I'm gone from here. I'm done. I'm out. Right? The world disappears. You disappear into the light, enlightenment, nirvana, whatever you want to call it, out of body experience. Until then, all I'm ever doing is realizing that my no is what I'm actually saying when I'm saying yes. I'm practicing. I'm practicing for my big moment, for my dance on the dance floor. My teacher used to say, fake it till you make it. It's like it's just practice. Everything's practice, practice, practice. Healing, healing, healing. There's nothing in you needs healing. You're perfect already. You're a divine child of God. But I'm always looking at, I'm saying I'm a child of God. I'm saying I'm divine and holy. But yet my words and my experience deny that. So I'm always find myself in the paradox of it. And that gets tiring. It's like between a rock and a hard place. It's like, man, I want to get out of here. I want to get out of this rock and this hard place business. But literally salvation is the business of being between a rock and a hard place. Jesus says in the Bible even, you know, like the way is steep and hard and there are few people that go on that way. And the way to damnation is the gates open wide and everybody goes in there because it's easy. It's like, man, I'm constantly in the reflection of my own false yes. Give up the world and follow me. Yes, Lord, here I am. Woo! Yeah, fuck yeah. but nothing happens. That's because the heart and the mind are separated. The mind judges it, the mind observes it, the mind tries to work out what that means. And if you can imagine the speed of thought, what does give up the world and follow me mean? What does that mean, Lord? You know, before your thoughts even enter consciousness for you to think about them, they're already manufactured in there somewhere. They're already gone. They're already past the point of here and now. You're already in the past of your own yes. You're in the examination of something that's already over. It's like, well, how do I get ahead of my yes? You know, it's like I always say, enlightenment is in the next thought that you don't have. Now, if you can say yes, if you can utter the words, you've already manifested the words in your mind so that you can utter them in the first place, which means they've already been spoken. Close your eyes and ask, who is it that's speaking? Right? Your yes comes from before you can even formulate the answer. That's the here and the now. The next thought that you don't have. That's why meditation is important. You have to learn to still the mind. Right? Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. You got to learn to meditate better than a Zen freaking monk. Better than a Zen master. Still the mind. It's not difficult, but it takes practice. When I first started meditating, take me an hour, 2 hours to even find 2 seconds or 3 seconds of genuine stillness, pure stillness. Now, there's nothing. Unless I'm talking, there's nothing. My mind's empty. It's like a fucking tumbleweeds going through the desert, you know, like just there's nothing going on in there. And I don't know how I got from that point where my mind was oh so very busy, full of monkeys and trains and freaking distractions, to the point where nothing. Now when I open my mind, it's like looking through a keyhole to reality. There's like a little point, like Roger, when you said you started seeing lights when we were doing the music. Right. Imagine you don't need the music, right? You're seeing lights in your consciousness. They're there all the time. It's actually one light. It can appear as all sorts of different things, but one light. Right? In the moment you actually see the light, it's because your mind's pushing up against the veil and looking through the veil. You know when you have a woolen jumper, right? Your grandma knits you a woolen sweater and you hold it up and you're like, oh, this is beautiful. And if you hold the wool right up against your eyes, you can see between the knits. You can actually see daylight between the little weaves. That's what consciousness is like. When you get to the edge of your consciousness, when you get to the limit of your thinking, when you get to the place where you're looking for where did that voice come from that said something, and you can master staying there, right? Once you can stay there for a moment, like a minute, you'll realize that that veil, that seemingly limit on your consciousness is incredibly thin. It feels like you can't go any further. It feels like when you meditate, that's it. That's as still as I can possibly make my mind. But you've got to learn to wait in that place. Right? Your waiting in that place is literally knocking up against the veil. It's like a submarine. When a submarine sinks to the bottom of the ocean, it's in trouble, and they send down a rescue party. The diver goes down and he knocks on the outside of the hull and he tries to find out where all the submarine guys are, because they're inside knocking back. But they've got to listen first. Where is he knocking? Oh, he's down the back of the submarine. Let's go down the back and we'll knock there to let him know we're all still alive. Right? It's the same thing in your consciousness. You're going to push up against the limit of consciousness in your mind through meditation. And on the other side, what's happening is Jesus is running around going, oh, he's pushing over here. This is where he's pushing. It's the same thing in a hospital ward, right? You're in eternity. Let's say eternity's a hospital ward. You're in a coma And all of a sudden, the machine starts to go beep, beep. And Jesus runs over and goes, hey, he's pushing. He's pushing on the thing. Let's give him some attention. Let's see if we can get his attention and bring him out of the coma. Right? Not the most accurate analogy, but it's close. Right? When you're sitting there in consciousness, when you're meditating, right? And it's heartful meditating. It's not just meditating because you don't know what the hell you're doing. You're connecting the purpose of your heart with the power of your mind. And it's like that passion and that power joined together in that refusal to not lean against consciousness, to not listen. You know, like Adidar Samaranch wrote a beautiful book. I never read the whole thing. It was like that thick. It was called The Knee of Listening, the KNEE of listening. I read probably about a third of it, maybe a bit more than a third of it. And it started to, like he waffles on into all sorts of stuff. It was hard to read, but the idea is the same thing. It's like the knee of listening, the trick of listening, or the art of listening is meditative listening. You're listening into the silence. You're listening for that voice. You're listening for a direction. You're listening for something. And listening is not like listening with your ears. It's more like you're feeling, like feeling into the darkness with an extra sense. I don't really know how to talk about it. It's like a sixth sense. You're sort of sitting there in that stillness, in that perfect stillness of mind, and you're reaching with your senses. You're reaching with your mind beyond where you think you can go. It's like you're calling back almost. Right? It's an energetic, it's a vibratory sort of frequency that occurs in your mind. And then when you're still there for a moment, you'll feel this little kadunk, like a little dropping down, like a step. I don't know how to talk about it. It's a mental step. There's this little boom, like that, all of a sudden, and then whoosh, you're gone. You're out. There's a whole thing of light. Right? Some of you guys know what I'm talking about. So that, but it takes practice, right? If you've got other things going on, if there's people in the house, whatever, it's always helpful to have a room or a place where you can devote just for your meditation, or go to the beach, or go somewhere where you're not going to be disturbed. And you make that determination. I'm going to sit for an hour or more, or 2 hours, whatever. And you just do it. You know, you're not going to die of starvation if you sit there for 5 hours or 10 hours. You can survive a whole day without a glass of water, right? But it's like the mind is so busy that it's the purpose of conscious mind is it's always going to try and distract you and tell you, what are you doing? This isn't meditation. Maybe I'll never get it. I'm useless. I can't do this, whatever. Every kind of thing. You've got everything against you. The whole world is going to be against you. And all you've got is the power of your decision, right? The power of your will. And that's enough, right? I'm doing this. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to learn to meditate. I'm going to teach myself to be still. When Jesus says, be still and know that I am God, that's you he's talking about. Or him. To see it in anyone is the same as to see it in yourself, because there is only the one self. But in your own consciousness, in your own mind, in your own meditative efforts, learning to open your mind at the like, it's another whole thing. Jesus says communication, and we're talking about true communication. When true communication doesn't happen, something's gone wrong, right? Each of you knows how to communicate with reality, knows how to communicate with God. It's in you. It's not like something in your next life that's going to happen for you. It's now. It's, if you want to call it a gift, you can call it a gift. But it's an ability that you have that has nothing to do with all your other senses. It has nothing to do with all your thinking about it, which is why you've got to train yourself to dump all that shit. Right? I'm entering into a whole new level of mind, a whole new understanding of things, which my old things can't help me with. Is that cool? Noodle, do you like that? Edith likes that. Colin likes that. Good. All right, let's put some music on. Did you find that one, the Pat
I'm gonna look in
Metheny?
your. Yeah, I didn't do it with much energy. I'll do it now.
That's the whole continuum. I didn't do it with much energy. That's my yes. My yes, yeah, I didn't do it.
Yes, thy
Yeah, well,
Lord.
yeah.
I didn't see
I'll
any
think
Pat
about that
Metheny, but
choice.
I'll look a little bit more energy. It's only
Like
10 songs
all or
here.
nothing. It's all or nothing.
I found Pat
You
Metheny,
do
but
it
I don't see
totally
anything
or
in your
don't
playlist.
bother. Huh?
Oh, here
Oh, you
it is. Oh, I found it.
found
Okay.
right. Oh, I'm not going crazy.
Okay. I'm gonna
There.
play
Crazy
all, and then I'm
there.
gonna find it.
All right.
Where's Pat?
Where's Carrie?
Oh,
Stand up, Carrie. Let's shake this out.
The
Colin,
future of
shake
work
it out.
is arriving fast. The stakes are high, and new
this is a
technology
10
is
minute
only
song. Is that
useful
what you're
if
talking
it's
about?
built on trust. At Thomson Reuters.
This is it. Yeah,
Okay,
that was
right
it. I
on.
don't know what the ad
You
was.
heard it?
Huh? No, I
I'm
just
not
heard it
even
just then.
sharing yet. Really? Am I sharing?
No, it just started and then you turn it off.
I know, but I didn't know that I was sharing. Okay, you guys all
It
heard it?
came on. Yeah, it came on. That's it. All right. Carrie standing up. Shake it out. Colin, shake it out.
You want me to loop it?
Dana, turn it down a little bit. Noodle standing up. Edith, let's do this. Roger, Simmer, Anna, come on, let's go. Pixel
What's
Man,
that?
Cam,
That too low?
take a deep breath. You turn it up a little bit. Such a cool track. Where's your volume? Come on, up.
There.
I'm going to get you some proper headphones.
Talking to this one?
That'll do. All right.
Right on.
Breathe. Take a breath. Close your eyes. Take a breath. You're a child of God. You're in a process. Jesus has found you. You are included in salvation. This is your time. This is it. It's not happening next week. It's happening now. And this is what it looks like, believe it or not. No coincidences, no mistakes, no possibilities other than this. Breathe. Let this vibe in. Just let it in. It's kind of slow, builds up. Just feel it. Turn it up a little bit, Nina. That's it. Take it to the guitar. Good, little good. Feel it. If you feel like you want to move, if you feel like it's rhythmic and it's moving you, feel it. Let it take you where it wants to go. Everything is within you. Every connection with everything is already within you. Feel it. Doesn't matter if it's your kind of music, not your kind of music. It's a whole new moment. No past references, no future references, no expectations, no preferences. Let it be. Ready? Good. Roger, let go. Don't try to recreate, let go. Don't reference the past. Whole new moment. Ready? Go, let go. Breathe. my yes. Probably a liar, but here's my yes anyway. Here I am, Lord. Heal my mind, illusion. Heal my mind of falsity. Here I am, Lord. Here I am. Here I am. Find that passion. Find the passion. How much do you want it? Here I am, Lord. God damn it. Standing in this place. I want to know the truth. Ask within. I want to know the truth. I want an experience. I'm probably lying about that too, but I want an experience. Stand in for my ego, G. Stand in for my ego. I'm a goddamn liar. Help. I need help. Yes. Good. Good. Breathe. Dima, come on, let go. Let go. You can go deeper than that. Push. Push. Push into feeling. Feel your heart space. Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. What's that knock at the door? Yes, Lord. It's me. Here I am. Feel that. Get out of your head and into your heart. You ready? Feel it. Yes, that's good. 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 Breathe. Nice one, Cam. Good. Push. Stay in your heart. Here I am. God, here I am. Beloved of Jesus, God. Here I am. Feel it. Feel it, that desperation, that longing to know your Father, to remember reality. How bad do you want it? What is reality? What is truth? What is creation? What is spirit? Don't you want to know? All you got to do is ask truly. No room for a doubt, with no room for maybe. Want to know. You're entitled to know. You're a child of God. I want an experience. Come on, push. Stop wiping away your tears. Just push into it. Ready? Breathe. Feel. Father, this emptiness inside me, fill it up. This emptiness inside me, fill it up. With your love, your truth. Yeah. Good, Tina. Push. Yes. 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 Yes, Don. Good. Feel it. Feel it. Feel it, feel it. Noodle, put your hands on your heart. Feel that heart. Just for a second, I want you to drop into the suffering of the world. Let the suffering of your world forge your passion for wanting this, for wanting truth. Look at it honestly and feel it. That's it. A journey into fear, a journey into pain. You can't heal from pain. You can't heal from
Every college
illness.
student needs to have Grammarly in their life. If you didn't know, Grammarly.
Put that other one that we'd like, the Black Mamba or Black.
Okay, I'll give you something in the meantime.
No, just put that one on. We don't want something in the meantime. Just put that on.
Okay, then give me a sec.
All right. Breathe. You got to use your pain, use your suffering. Let it take you where it needs you to go. I used to hate it in the 80s. You know what really pushed me into my journey into God? Was in the middle of the 1980s. There was a famine in Africa, a big famine. It was the biggest one Africa had ever seen. And every day on the television, there was children dying and people starving and no water, no food, and nothing I could do about it. And it crushed my chest. It crushed me. It crushed my heart. I felt so bad for those people and I couldn't do a damn thing. I was just a kid. I didn't want to eat the food on my plate at dinner because I felt bad they didn't have any food. And it drove me into an impossible place where the only answer became faith. The only answer became God. And I didn't even really have a good grip on anything like that in those days. But it started me looking for answers, much the same way as the Buddha when he was a boy. He was kept in the family home and not allowed outside. He couldn't see the street. He couldn't see people going by. He couldn't see anything. All he knew was his life in the home with servants and people that were healthy and happy. His father always made sure he never saw suffering. And one day somebody left the gate open and he saw an old person outside all bent over and suffering. And he went out. He went out the gate to discover what it was that was happening to the person. And it set him on the path to becoming the Buddha. He felt it in his heart. He felt the suffering of others, and it was intolerable. And you've got to use that. Each of us has it within us as our own story and the story of our world. You've got to feel it and let it push you. Let it push every button you've got. Don't be afraid of it. Use it. Give it to the Holy Spirit. Take this from me, Lord. This pain, this suffering. Make me an instrument of your love. You have to be purified. You have to be emptied out. The cup must be tipped out empty and let it be filled up by God. All right, play that tune. Good. Good. Breathe. Close your eyes and go within. Open your mind. Here I am, Lord. I don't know nothing. I've got nothing. Here I am exactly as you find me. Willing to do whatever is required. Willing to play any part. Willing to receive, willing to give. Make me an instrument of your will, of your love. Here I am, Lord. Here I am. Breathe. Breathe. Deep breath in through the nose, out through the top of the head. Think up. Let everything be up. Let your energy be up. Here I am, Lord. Created, standing in the presence of the Creator. Not as the flesh, but as the spirit. Breathe. Good. Woo! Ready? Yes. Pop it up. Pop it up. And adjust. Pop it up. And adjust. Let it come up. Let that happen. Don't adjust. Kick on the floor. Ready? Here. Focus. Focus. Let that happen. Push. Breathe. Woo! That's it. Little feel. Open yourself up to feeling more and more and more. Picture it. See it. Good. Colin, same thing. Open yourself up to feeling. Feel. John, same thing. Feel. Suffering of the world is your responsibility. Suffering of the world is your clinic. Where you're working, it's where you will work and where you are called to work. To heal the sick and raise the dead. Feel it. Feel your calling. Feel what it is that you're to do, that you're here for. You're a healer. The healthy don't need healing. The sick need healing. Look at the sick. Look at the suffering and the dying, all those thoughts of death. They're in your mind, nowhere else. Very good. Colin, look up. Look up. Good. Feel. Carry the meat eater. Breathe. Breathe. Roger, breathe. Push. Push, Roger. You're on your bicycle in the Nullarbor. You're out of water. Got 100 miles to go. Push. No spot to die. Push. Feel that desperation. Feel that passion. Feel that determination. Push. Good. Yes, good, Tina. Good, good, good. 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 Yes. Yes. Good. Yes. Those are good. what it is. Let it be what it is. Don't try to change how you feel. Let yourself feel. Colin, look down. Look down. Look right down. Now feel. Good. 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 Don't go astral, John. Stay focused. Here I am. Let it be passionate. Good. Breathe, Carrie. Breathe. In through the nose. Out through the mouth. And again. Good. Let it go to your roots. Let it go to your origins. Feel your heritage, your ancestors, your forefathers, everyone before and everyone after. Forgiveness blesses them all. Those who are yet to be born, your forgiveness blesses them. Those who gave you the opportunity to incarnate here, your forgiveness blesses them. This is your true purpose. Feel, John. Feel. Push. Push. Get out of that space you're in. Push. Find something else. Not that. Here I am, Lord. Find the depths. Find the depth. Find the darkness. Here I am, Lord, in this dark place. In this empty place. Fill me in this place. Let the light penetrate every fibre and ounce and cell of my being. All consciousness become illuminated with light that I've tried to deny. Breathe. Yes. Good, Colin. Good. Push. Don't adjust. Stay there. Middle, same thing. On somewhere else. Ready? Let's go deeper. Yes. Here I am, Lord. All of my heart. All of my heart. Not a bit of it. All of it. I want to feel my whole heart. Even though it's breaking. Even though it's aching. I give it to you, Lord. It's aching to know you. There's this calling deep within me. There's this calling within me to know, to remember my God, to remember my Father. Yes, good. Yes. Thank you. Breathe, Roger. Breathe and deep. Keep pushing. Push. Here I am, Lord. You don't even know how hard you can push. You don't know how much passion you have within you until you need it. Now you need it. Call upon it. Summon it up. It's your power. Summon it up. Use it. Yes, you are life. You are alive. You are living. You are the expression of love, the expression of God itself, even through the form, even through the body. Body's included in. Include the body. Feel. Yes. Good. Top it up, Carrie. Top it up. Let that happen. Let it happen. Push. You ready? Good. That's it. That's better. Good. Good feel. You are the passion. You are the Christ. You are the power. Give it. Give it to your world. Give your love away. Give your love away. Passionately, purposefully. Breathe. That's it. Come on, Paul. Good, John. Good. Touch it. Feel it. Feel it. Tangible. Energy. That's it, Anna. Good. Oh, good. Put your hand on your stomach, Anna. Put your hand on your stomach. Down, down, a bit further down. There. Ready, Anna? Good. That's better. Breathe. Good. Breathe. Feel it, Cam. Feel it. Deeper. Here I am, Lord. Here I am. This is between you and God. You and God. I'm just an annoying voice in the background. Ignore me. Don't listen to me. Feel. You're already one with all things. April, good. Feel that breath. Connect with it. In. Out. In. Slowly. Deeply. Good on. Let that happen. Let it happen. Push. Push into that. Stay in that place. Ready? it. Right there. That's it. That's it. Very good. Feel. You gotta feel to heal. Feel it to heal it. No good as a concept or a thought in your head. Your thoughts don't mean anything. Get into the juice. Get down where it's wet and sticky, dark and icky. Feel that. Feel the stuff you're trying to avoid. Feel the denial. God, it's a freaking paradox. This don't exist. What the hell kind of way is that to live my life? Breathe.
Девушка прочь.
Good.
Одна по пустыне. Ветру навстречу. Остальное не в счет.
Feel it.
Смятая юбка.
Good. Feel. Reach inside. Reach inside. Find your passion for loving, for giving. It's there, probably buried under the getting and the manipulating. Breathe.
Одна по пустыне.
Good. Gotta feel into it. That'll do, Tina. You gotta feel into it. There's a joy in feeling because you're feeling into something that's supporting you. Your heart will never lie. Your heart will never lead you wrong. You're allowing your heart, no matter how burdened it is by the pain of the world, to become unburdened. That's where doing the work comes in. I have to admit to my pain. I have to admit to the world I find myself in. I have to face it exactly as it is, with all of its unfairness and all of its dichotomy, to go beyond it. You got to feel it, Colin. You got to let that in. The suffering, the pain, the death, the sickness, the disease, all of it. Jesus walked amongst the lepers and the sick. That's where his ministry was. Out there, in here, that's where the ministry is, in my mind. Let me look at all my ideas of sickness and death, opposite of God's creation in every way. and offer that to the Holy Spirit. Let me offer my darkness to the light. It's good. All right, have a sit down. Where's Carrie gone? She collapsed. Oh. What's happening, Carrie? Choking on it? Good. My friend Alana, when we used to do light sessions here, she would literally vomit, like she would blow chunks. She couldn't stop it. She would go through fits and fits of coughing to the point where she couldn't get past that stage without vomiting. And we had to keep a special bucket in the session room for her. Sometimes she would vomit on the carpet. She wouldn't make it to the bucket. I used to get spasms through my whole body and I would collapse to the floor 10, 12, 20 times a day. Some people burp. You get these kind of funny things that happens when you get at a certain point and you got energy starting to move, when you've got this whole sort of vibration starting to change. And it's like the body undergoes its shifts and changes as well. It cannot not, because the body is a construct of the mind. What's happening, Cam? Feeling it?
Yeah, a lot. I just want to
Good.
cry.
Good. No, cry. That's good. Whatever it is. I always say I don't care if people leave the satsang happier than when they came in or sadder than when they came in, as long as they're different. Because it's about change. You know, it's about change. You're either going up into your light, you're either going up into that miracle-minded sort of place, or you're going down to heal another load of whatever.
Yeah.
But you got to listen to your heart. Your heart tells you what needs to be done. Like if I said to you, close your eyes and think about somebody that upsets you, or think about a grievance, or think about a judgment, or think about something that's unhappy in your life or in the world, whatever, and you're aware of something, go heal that. Give that to Jesus. Right? And that requires prayer and everything. If you got nothing, then party on. Just like, be happy. Until you find the next load. It's like if you imagine that your mind, your subconscious and your consciousness is like a cellar, in a house, and you go down there and there's box loads of stuff that's been there for generations. Your grandma lived in the house, her grandma lived in the house. There's all their stuff. It means nothing to you. It's just collecting dust. There's some of your stuff as well. And it's all stuff that you kept it there because you thought Monday somebody might want it. But nobody's ever going to want it. That's why they put it down there in the first place. They didn't even want it. You don't want it. Your whole history, your ancestry, all the idea of what you think your lineage is going to be in the future, it's all pointless. It's all stuff nobody wants. Right? So your mind is like that. And it's your job to go down into that basement and look at those boxes, and they're all written on the box what each one is. This one says prejudice. This one says pride. This one says whatever. And you got to open all those boxes up, and they're all going to have a personal meaning to you. They're all going to have a personal affiliation because somewhere in your life you've experienced all those things and you have an emotional response to them. And you're afraid of that because you put them down there because you didn't like it in the first place. Right? It's like if somebody's mean to you or unkind to you or says something, and whatever, you deal with it. But unless you can actually heal it through forgiveness, the way you deal with it is either by drinking yourself into a stupor or pretending that it doesn't hurt, and you push it down, down, down. And it's like, and that's how most people operate. Pretty much everybody. I mean, we're not special human beings. We're all kind of like in the same bucket here. Right? So when you're healing, it's like, all right, let me look at what needs healing in me. What needs healing in me? It's never about anyone else. Keep your finger on your nose. What is there I've got? What story am I telling myself about my past or about my hopes for the future? It's like if I can only find love and joy and peace and happiness right here and right now in this present moment where life is actually happening to me, then what's all this other shit? I don't need it. And we think that if we have references for the past, that it keeps us safe by giving us a way to look at making future decisions. But that's not trusting God. So it's like, all right, let me look at that. I've got all these ideas about death, family, friends, what I think I'm owed, what I think is justice and injustice, all these sorts of stuff. None of it is true in eternity. None of it. It's all relative to the world, and your job is to give up the world. Now what are you going to do? I don't know. It always comes back to I don't know. I need a miracle.
I just can you hear me? Can you hear
Uh-huh.
me? Yeah.
Yep.
I just had a birthday on Friday, and before that, I'm just now like getting back up on my feet. Like I just spiraled down like this dark path thing. Like I don't know. I'm just it was just so much. It was like all my places of comfort that I run to like avoid stuff. It was just decreasing, and it's kind of like I didn't have control over it. It's like I'm very cynical inside. I'm very distrusting. I'm very
Me too.
superstitious. Oh my goodness, it's a mess, and I was just crying every single day. It was ridiculous, and it was like I was being cornered by my own destruction and by my own chaos, and I didn't have a choice but to like look at it and like examine it, and it was
Good.
ridiculous.
At least you saw it. Like you saw it. That's the whole thing. You get to see how your mind is like trying to trip you up all the time.
Yeah.
Right. Cool. Well done. Little golf clap for that one. We'll just, that's a good thing. That's healing. Right? Now, you got to see it. You had nowhere to go with it. Did you ask the Holy Spirit for help? Or did you forget that
No,
bit?
not really. I
Oh,
forget.
right. There you go. Everyone always forgets the last step, Then it has to come back around again. It's like, oh, shit, there's that stuff that I saw last time and I didn't heal it last time. Right?
Yeah.
It's always easier to heal stuff in the moment when you see it because it activates you, it gets you emotional, and you can't deny your emotions. You can try and play down how you feel about it in your head because your head's always lying to you. Ah, it's not that bad. I'll be fine. I'll get over it. It wasn't that confronting. It wasn't too much to deal with. But your emotions are like, fuck, right? I can't deal. That's when you want to pray, when you've got all that churned up and it's like really passionate. It's like, hang on a minute. I remember once my teacher, Ted, he fucking bawled me out in front of the whole bloody group, like this 50, 60 people. I'd had like 3 lovers, right, at the healing center, 3 women in 4 months or something. It was just weird. I don't know what the hell was going on. It was like spiritual healing centers is always about 85% women and then there's a few guys, right? So it's really, I was the rooster in the hen house kind of thing. So I had all these women. Technically, I didn't want a relationship. I didn't want anything going on because there was so few guys there. I guess I was more attractive. And then one of the women that I had a thing with only lasted a couple of weeks, and it was horrible. It was terrible. It fell apart, right? It was just like I could see it even before going into it that I didn't want to be part of it, but it was like being sucked in, like I didn't have any control. I just had to say yes to it. And then it sort of all fell to pieces. And then she went and told Ted that it all fell to pieces and that it was my fault and whatever. And I didn't know, right? And then one day at lunch, Ted goes, Dave, come here. And he calls me over. And in front of everybody, He's like, you're treating this place like a freaking personal brothel, you know, like you're fucking treating these women, blah, 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 blah. I didn't have any clue that was how anyone saw me treating anything, right? I'm just totally innocent. I'm like, I'm just trying to find a relationship that works, you know, like technically. And anyway, I didn't defend myself, right? I stood there. I totally stood there. I let him say what he said. And Ted was a big guy. He's like a couple inches taller than me. He's like 140 kilos, like a big dude. And he was like, yeah, big New York kind of accent, like railing on me. And everybody stopped eating their lunch, right? Everyone's like paying attention. It was like the main event going on, you know, Ted bailing out Dave. And my little place where I lived was just up the end of where the lunch area, the courtyard was. I had a cabin up there, up the end. And he got to the end, right? He got to the end, went on for like 5 minutes. He got to the end of what he was saying. And he sort of fell quiet and he just looked at me like that. And I said, "Is that it?" I said to him, "Is that your thing?" And I was feeling it. Like I was really feeling it. I felt this big, embarrassed in front of everybody and the whole thing. And he goes, "Yep, that's it." And I turned away to go to my cabin because I knew I had to pray. And he said, "Where you going?" And I said, "I got to go and pray." And he knew in that moment that I'd felt it because I knew the need, right? I knew what I had to do. It was just like it was just my chest was bursting with I have to pray, right? That's the step you got to take. It's one thing, however your denial shows up doesn't matter, right? Somebody rails on you or buddy whatever, or you see something yourself, doesn't matter. Don't forget that last step, prayer, because the healing, the answer, pardon me, the answer for denial isn't you working it out. It's a miracle, right? And prayer is the medium of miracles. Prayer is the medium of miracles. Say that 1,000 times to yourself. Prayer is the medium of miracles. All right. Because I'm telling you, here's what happens. You see something about yourself and you forget to pray about it. You forget to actually go through the whole process of healing, that whole sort of like handing it over to God. What happens is that's a lesson that you failed to learn. You saw it. You saw the trigger. You saw where it is that you had a relationship with it, but you didn't heal it. So it has to come around again, and it will, right? Now ask yourself, do you really want that shit all coming around again? Right, exactly. But here's the advantage. It is going to come around again because a lesson repeats until it is learned, and you can't escape the effects of your own thinking, and it's just your own thinking, right? But this time, forewarned is forearmed. You're going to be aware of what you got to do. Right? You know how it felt. You know how it feels. You know what you were going through at the time. You've got all the information you need. Be vigilant. Right? When it comes around again, you'll recognize the signature of it. Oh, this feels exactly like that shit I went through last time. Right? You'll recognize it because it'll feel the same way. Right? Don't defend yourself. Simply let it affect you. Right? Let it affect you. Let it take you to that place it needs to take you to because it's actually healing that's happening, not something that you need to run from or hide from or defend against. Okay?
Okay.
Don't worry. Don't worry if you have a meltdown in front of company or people or whatever. Just be yourself. Let it happen. Right? I had a whole meltdown in Woolworths in the baked beans aisle looking at baked beans. I let it happen right there. I could have gone outside. I could have gone around the back of the building and started crying and whatever the whole thing. But I didn't want to turn off the tap. It was raw. It was touching me right then and right there. And it's like right then and right there. That's where I had to do it. I don't give a fuck what anyone else thinks. I don't care. Let them laugh at me. Let them look at me. You know, this is my salvation. That's all that matters. If it looks stupid to someone else, and even if it looks stupid to me, like what the hell?
Right.
Right. You got nothing to lose. God is on your side. Good. Carrie's good. Noodle's good. Noodle, you good? You feeling, or are you cutting yourself off?
I'm feeling. I don't always like it, but I've been feeling more.
Good, good. Remember to ask for help with it. Like when you don't like it, that's when I get happy. That's the good stuff, right? That's where the work is. When you don't like what you're feeling, that's where the work is. Right? There should be no reason for unhappiness and don't like what you're feeling inside you whatsoever, because God goes with you wherever you go. So all of that other stuff that you don't like what you're feeling, that's just misperception on your behalf. It's just you not seeing something the way it actually is. And I know you've had that lesson already. All right. So that's what it is. There's nothing to worry about, nothing to be afraid of. Just do the work there. Okay. That's all good. Anyone else? I'm gonna go see my real estate lady in a second, so we're gonna wrap it up a bit. But trying to sell this place, like we've got a whole contract to sign, and it's like it's just going backwards and forwards between. It's like worldly stuff. I'm gonna ask for a miracle with that any minute, but
Don't hesitate.
yeah,
What you
I guess
waiting
I'm
on?
not, I don't know. I guess I'm not really honestly looking at it yet. Maybe I don't
Mm.
know.
Mm.
It'll happen. So, Anna, you good? Say no. Jesus, you always say yes. Say no. I'm all fucked up. Look at Carrie. Looks like a corpse. I swear, flies were coming out of her mouth then. Like, "Ugh." Anyone else? Roger, you good? Everyone good? April, can't see you in the pitch black, but anyway, we assume
Sorry.
You and
you're
Pixel
good.
8 should talk at some point, Dave. You and Pixel
What's
8.
happening?
You and Sean.
Pixel 8,
Sean
my
is the one
man.
I,
What's
yeah,
happening?
yeah, that's the one I told you about, who had that experience. Maybe you guys want to connect at some point.
Oh
It's
yeah,
a
cool. Yeah.
crucifixion. Yep, yep, just letting you know that's who that is.
Oh, very cool. You want to tell
Thought
me
you
the
might be
story?
interested
I also have a crucifixion story,
in.
briefly, but I'm keen to hear what your story is.
Sorry, it took me a minute to figure out how to
All
unmute.
good. All good.
Yeah, yeah, maybe another night. I've
Okay,
I've got
that's
other
cool.
people in the house, and yeah, I feel like I can't.
No, that's cool. Keep it sacred. Yeah, that's good. Yep. All right, we'll wrap it up. Carrie, you good? It's good. It's good. Like you got to rock the boat, you know. If you want change, if you want healing, you got to be prepared to go through it. All
I,
right. I love you guys. Any questions? Anything? Anyone? Jono, you got a question?
I've got a question.
I thought you did. Go for it.
So I've noticed that you'll have those like little things with the head and all
Right.
that
Yep.
that surge of energy. I
Yep.
get that all the time.
Cool. Are you
Now
working
what
with it?
I don't really know what to do with it. I I did I just got done doing my level 2 Reiki training today,
Right.
you know,
Okay.
as a healer, but
Is that where you're experiencing it when you're doing the Reiki, or
no,
just in general?
just in general. Yeah.
Where do you feel it in your body?
Mm,
Because that's the receptor. Is it primarily in your head?
like up through the head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
And
So try.
yeah.
All right. This is hard to explain, but God. So when I first started getting it, it was 25 odd years ago. It was pretty much within a year of my illumination. And it just started happening spontaneously. I think I never asked him, but I think my teacher Ted kicked it off. He used to have these kind of mystical spiritual powers, and he could sort of like manipulate energy and do stuff to a certain degree. Um, I find myself able to do that as well, but not really consciously. He seemed to be able to do it consciously. For me, it sort of happens more by accident, or by not accident, but by random, like it's the thing. So when when I first started getting my mind would open, it would happen spontaneously. I would say it was spontaneously all the time. And it would send a shock like a lightning bolt through my whole body from the top
Yeah.
down,
Yeah.
all the way down to my feet, and my legs would buckle. I couldn't stand up. I would actually fall to the floor. If I was shopping, I'd fall on the floor of the supermarket. If I was in meditation, we used to do standing meditation, I would fall. I went through a particularly bad period with it where if I was sitting in a chair when Ted was talking, my whole body would convulse like a wave, like boom, 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 and I would literally be lurched out of the chair, right, onto the floor, like flung into the air almost. The energy was so strong. And Ted used to always say to me, try and fall up, and I'd like he would laugh about it, but I never knew really like, how the fuck do you fall up? I don't even know what's happening to me. I'm just like, this stuff's happening and it's like boom, boom, boom. And when I started teaching, when I started expressing from my certainty that God is a fact, things started to change. It was like my giving of the certainty of my experience and the certainty of my mind somehow allowed a smoother flow of that energy, because I was receiving heaps, but I was giving nothing. I was a student, right? I was a student. When I started teaching, things started to change with it. I would still fall down a lot, but it wasn't as violent. It wasn't as strong. It wasn't as uncontrollable. I could feel it coming on, right? I can feel it in the top of my head now. It's like a little rotating electricity going around and around and around, right in my crown. The the feeling of it about to happen. So when I open my mind like that, the feeling of that happening is like, when you feel like you're going to vomit. You ever felt like that? And you can feel like, oh, I'm going to vomit. You're not vomiting, but somehow you're about to vomit, right? There's this kind of knowing. There's this kind of like, it's a very subtle energy. And I always talk about this as like feeling the subtle energy of stuff, right? So um when I feel it, right, and I can command it myself now, like I'm in fluent control of my own communication, right? But when I feel it coming on, I can choose to experience the light with it. And I don't know if I'm accurate at this, but it seems to be that I can choose to experience the light directly, which I have behind my eyes. Like Roger, you said you experience the light behind your eyes there in your consciousness, right? So I can choose that at will to connect with that light, and also at the same time, sometimes I can direct, for want of a better word, that energy throughout the cellular structure of my physical form for the purpose of healing something, if I have a bruise or an ache or a sprain or whatever. And generally that seems to be quite successful. Sometimes it's not, and I don't know why it's not, right? I don't know why sometimes I'm able to direct the energy in a certain way and other times it doesn't seem to work. Right?
Yeah.
There's no real instruction manual. It's just kind of trial and error. But I'm at a place in my own thing where I feel like it doesn't really matter. I don't need to really know about that. Right?
Yeah.
It just occurs in the way that it needs to occur and that it's meant to occur. And there's probably things about it that's kind of above my pay grade, but
Yeah.
you do experience it in the body and through the body. And it is directly attributable to your own resurrection process, to your own ascension process, and your own transformative process. Just close your eyes for a second. Okay, everyone can do this. Close your eyes, and I want you to breathe in through your nose and out through the top of your head. Focus on the top of your head, like people call it a crown chakra. I don't want to call it a chakra. I'm just going to say it's the top of your head, right? Slowly breathe in and breathe up. Breathe up and take a few breaths, 3 or 4 slow, gentle breaths. Don't force anything. And you should begin to feel like a little energetic point in the top of your head, like a stream of airs coming out of the top of your head, right? You should be able to feel that. Now, in the same way you can feel that, you can learn to work with that the other way, going down. Instead of breathing up, you're breathing in and out through that hole in the top of your head, and you're bringing that energy, which in the East they call it the chi, you're bringing that energy or the prana or whatever, the breath, through that energetic portal into your body, into your physical body. And you can use that in hands-on healing with others, in healing yourself, in all sorts of things, right? How you use it exactly, as far as I can tell, that's an individual application, right? So I've known hands-on healers that will put their hands directly on a part of a person's body that's affected without even knowing what it is that they're doing, and they're touching on the problem, right? For me, it looks slightly different. I'll usually put my hand on someone's heart and then across their forehead as well, both hands, and something mostly occurs, but that's generally a prompt. And my ex-wife Rosie, who's also into all of this, she's an incredible hands-on healer, and people experience direct light and everything through her all the time and have all sorts of stuff happen and healing. But the healing, the ray association that you have within the spectrum of time and space, some people will say, oh, well, the yellow ray's the healer's ray and all of that. And well, it is and it isn't. Jesus harmonizes through the blue ray and appears through the blue ray. Each of us has an association with one of those ray associations that's more prominent than another. And I think that tends to have some sort of influence about how you're able to use how you're able to use your energy, how you're able to use your light. I don't know if that's 100% accurate, but at the same time, I don't want to get into other systems of healing like chakras and things like that, because I know that's not accurate, right? So personally, I prefer to just leave it open and just say, all right, well, this thing's occurring in me. I can't deny it. I've seen the effects of it. I've seen it through my hands, like Jesus says in the Course. You'll see miracles through your hands, through me. I've seen that. I can't explain it. It wasn't me really doing it. I'm just the vessel. But at the same time, there's not really much of an instruction about it. I've tried asking about it and I get no answer. All I kind of get is fobbed off, or it's like my teacher Ted was very good at fobbing me off. If I asked him a question, he'd give me another question or something like that. And it's like, because there's a recognition that you already know everything within you anyway. Why are you asking me? It's like the answer to what it is, and it's like your head and the whole thing and all that energy. Somewhere in you already know all the answers to everything you want to ask me about it. I can only answer you to the depth about it that I've experienced. But it is cool. It's kind of like, Sima, you putting your hand up?
Yeah, Pixel, I'm a Reiki master, and I was having that. I do have that experience as well. So what I do is I bring the universal light through me and then ground myself. So you need to ground yourself, either going out walking on the grass or hugging a tree, because I do nature walks every morning, and then I've got this one tree that I go and hug and sort of ground myself. So when you ground yourself, that's an amazing thing to do. So bring that universal cosmic light energy inside of you. But how you do it, you breathe in through your nose to your heart and breathe that love out. Do that a few times. So what you're doing is you're sending that love to everybody who's breathing that energy, because we all breathe. So with that intention that you're breathing that love, universal love energy, and breathing it out, and knowing that everybody is breathing that, you're changing the consciousness of everybody, including yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting. I do that every morning.
Yeah.
I go out in my backyard and I pray at like 4 o'clock in the morning, and just get my feet on the ground. And that was
Yeah.
intuitive after I had that illumination experience. Like you said, it was like, the lightning strike coming down through and
Yeah.
the whole deal. Yeah. And it was right from that experience.
And
that,
it is kind of intuitive, that's the word.
Yes. Yeah, it's where your intention is, that's where energy flows. So affirmations, gratitudes and stuff, work on yourself and you'll be fine.
Okay.
I'll just share a little bit about myself, because my partner for 6.5 years, he transitioned on the 3rd of September. And I went through grief as well. Within the fourth day of his passing, I thanked him for giving me that experience, and I forgave him as well. And since then, I started feeling that calmness within me, and I surrendered. And yeah, and it's amazing that me knowing all these things that we've learned from ACIM and listening to, because I listen to audibles a lot, the disappearance of the universe. That was, I think a couple of months ago, Dave mentioned it. And I listened to that and it helps. It helps.
Yeah, this is so helpful because, I had the experience and I'd never heard of ACIM. I had no clue, no point of reference. And then, I'm trying to tell people and I'm, reading the Bible and all these things are coming up and I'm, going to dinner with my pastor and he's sitting there scratching his head and going, oh, okay. And everybody's looking at me going, you're insane. You're insane. You need to be on medication.
Choose your audience who you talk to as well sometimes.
Yeah.
That's what I do. I choose the audience, the people that understands and stuff. That's what I do. My partner and I, we always listen to books and we always talk to each other, and he always said, you're the only one who understands me. Because now we'll be having a lot of other people getting to know about ACIM, and it's amazing that I've got a few people who are listening to the book and stuff, and we sit and talk about it, and it's really good. And that's why I enjoy coming on Mondays here. I live in Melbourne, so Mondays here and listening to Dave, and it's beautiful. Thank you, Dave. You've helped me a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, man.
Hey, all thanks to God. All thanks to God.
Yes.
Praise God, man.
Surrender and let go.
There's something I want to tell you about intuition, right? So one of the experiences I had was with the blue people, all right?
Mm-hmm.
So, which is another whole thing. You can watch those videos on their own if you like. The blue people communicate without words. They don't talk. They don't talk with mouths. They have mouths, but they don't talk with mouths. They communicate mind to mind exactly, clearly and perfectly, like we're talking with words now. In the experience with the blue people, I was aware I could do that. And I've even had experiences in this world of being able to connect with other minds. Our brother Gregory Sacra, Tina often goes to his classes. He and I had a moment of joining one day across a crowded room, of being in each other's heads, and like we knew we were, and he looked at me and I looked at him, and like whoa, like there was a whole thing.
Yeah.
But it was spontaneous. It wasn't guided on my behalf, or I didn't think, oh, I'm just going to talk to Gregory in my head. There was nothing like that. And it happened about 3 or 4 other times, right? That was just after my illumination, when I was supercharged. Like the light was so powerful in my mind. I didn't know, like you, I'd never heard of A Course in Miracles. I didn't know what to do with it. It was literally frying every circuit I had. All this stuff was going on. In The Course in Miracles, Jesus says communication is natural, right? So there is this kind of intuitiveness about it. when your mind starts to open and you have that lightning sort of thing, there is something in you that knows what to do with it. But the part of you that's asking about it isn't a true thing. It's the part that's in the way, right?
Yeah.
It's the part that's sort of trying to block what to do with it. The part of you, or the truth of you within yourself already knows. It's like Sima said, like it is intuitive. You already know it. It's like you're just remembering how it is that you communicate. You're remembering the language of love, which is light.
Yeah.
So, and the funny thing is, because there's no words needed, everyone just knows everything. When you've got a question of someone or something, the answer's already known as well, right? The answer's implied in the question. It's like remove the belief in separation between the answer and the question, and you already know before you ask. It's like, oh, I am God. I am that. It's like God knows what you want in prayer before you even ask him. How? Because everything is known.
Yeah.
We're just relearning. We know all that. We're just relearning. Yeah.
Remembering.
Yeah, remembering everything. Yes.
Yeah.
And also, I'm a meditation facilitator. So if you want, maybe next time when we join, I can do a forgiveness meditation with you guys if you're interested in doing that.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. So
Colin,
what happened
what do you
was
reckon?
I got asked by this. I've joined this group, hiking group, and then they wanted someone to volunteer for something, and I just said, "Oh, I'm a meditation facilitator," and then they asked me if I could do a walking, hiking meditation, and I did that, and I did this forgiveness meditation because we need to forgive to find inner peace, and we've got all these stories in our head. In this box that we make ideas. So I thought that would be a really good meditation to do. And I did have a really good feedback. So I thought I'll try and do it with you guys and see how you feel.
Yes, do it.
Yeah. And I also have do meditations on Zoom on Tuesday nights. So in Melbourne, that's Melbourne time. So if anybody who's interested, just message in the group and I'll send you a link and you can join the meditation group as well.
Very cool. Where's Colin? He just popped into mind for that. Colin, he's not there. Oh, he is there.
Yes.
All right. Anyway, I've got to go. Love you guys. Thank you. Thank you. And another time, I'd like to hear that story, the cruise. So
yeah,
I think I got one. Tina, did I make a video about that with Jesus on the cross? The whole. I think I've mentioned it.
You've mentioned it, but I don't think there's an actual in the experiences.
Yeah,
probably do that.
It was only very brief. That's why probably I didn't.
It's in one of those long satsangs.
Yeah, it's
try to find it.
in something else. All right,
you should
maybe I'll do that.
should do that. Yep.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right.
Well done.
Peace.
I guess.
Thank you, Tina.
Thank you, Seema. Why don't you drop your join in the chat?
Got it?